Discover the ruthless history of the feared Hells Angels in this gripping journey. Unravel their vicious battles with rival motorcyclists, spine-chilling acts of violence, and dark secrets that have defined their infamous legacy. Brace yourself for a riveting adventure that will keep you on the edge of your seat. From their beginnings to the present day, witness the intense clashes, power struggles, and haunting stories that have molded the most notorious biker gang in history. Join us now to explore the heart-pounding world of the Hells Angels and be prepared to be captivated by their chilling tale. Robert Chikamura was the commander of the Dirty Dozen motorcycle gang and a notable figure in the world of motorcycle gangs. In an unfortunate turn of circumstances, he joined the Hells Angels in Arizona, attempting to establish control in the region. Mura's physical presence was terrifying, as he stood 6 feet 3 inches tall and weighed nearly 300 pounds of muscle. His involvement in severe illicit activities, including drug trafficking and racketeering, added to his deadly reputation. His involvement in a murder, though, would seal his doom. Mura was caught and accused of the murder of a rival biker gang member, a tragedy that shook the community. The Lennoxville Massacre was a terrible and horrific incident that shocked Quebec's criminal underground. It entailed the assassination of 5 Hells Angels level chapter members, leaving a trail of death and ruin in its wake. Guy Louis Chop, Adam Zangio, Brutus Jeffrey, Laura Longley, Al Michelvilli, Mirant, and Jean-Pierre Mathieu were all brutally murdered by their gang members. 2 other level chapter members narrowly avoided a similar fate, adding to the dark overtones of the affair. The victims' bodies were discovered in a river, wrapped in sleeping bags and piled with cinder blocks and vates. This terrifying tragedy would be known as the Lennoxville Massacre, and it should have been the end of the Hells Angels in Quebec. Eve Trudeau was a feared and infamous Hells Angels member with a terrifying reputation for violence and brutality. Trudeau was born in Canada in 1946, and his dramatic beginnings led him down a path of crime from a young age. He dropped out of school at the age of 15 and began indulging in illegal activities such as armed robberies and break-ins. Trudeau's experience with explosives while working for Canadian Industries Limited spurred him into the 1960s Popeyes motorcycle gang, which ultimately amalgamated with the Hells Angels in 1977. Trudeau developed a reputation as one of the club's most violent and brutal members during his time with the Hells Angels. His criminal activities included involvement in explosives, and he confessed to penetrating 43 murders between 1973 and 1985. His tools of the trade included guns, bombs, physical attacks, and even strangulation. Trudeau's cocaine addiction, combined with his growing concern that his fellow gang members wanted him dead, drove him to make a catastrophic decision. He became a government informant, exchanging information for a reduced sentence. As a result, Trudeau was granted parole and assumed a new identity in 1994. During his time in protective care, he went by the name Dennis Coate. Maurice Bouchard was a ferocious and powerful Hells Angels gang commander noted for his role in a protracted and violent fight with rival biker gangs in Quebec. Bouchard's unhappy childhood led him to a life of crime at a young age, engaging in armed robberies and other criminal acts. Bouchard joined the SS, a white supremacist motorcycle club that evolved into the Hells Angels in 1982. He soon progressed through the ranks and became a notorious Hells Angels Montreal chapter member. Rumors spread that he wanted to monopolize the drug business in Quebec, which would result in violent and deadly struggle with competing biker gangs. Over 162 people were killed and hundreds more were injured during the Quebec Biker War, leaving a trail of damage and bloodshed across the province. Bouchard's reputation as a ruthless criminal was solidified, and he became a target for authorities. Bouchard was charged with the murder of 2 prison officials and the attempted murder of a third in 1998. Despite the fact that Bouchard was acquitted in this case, authorities got information from an informant, Stephanie Gain, who testified against it. As a result, he was convicted guilty of the murders in 2002 and sentenced to life in prison. Sky Michel Langlois rose through the Hells Angels ranks to become the renowned motorcycle gang's Canadian national president. He became part of the historic Lennoxville Massacre, a terrifying occurrence in which 5 Hells Angels level chapter members were brutally murdered. Langlois' illegal actions continued beyond the Lennoxville Massacre, and he was charged with a number of other offenses. His involvement in drug trafficking, violence, and other illicit acts contributed to his infamous notoriety in the criminal underworld. However, Langlois was eventually apprehended by the law. He was found guilty of his role in the Lennoxville Massacre and sentenced to life in prison. His conviction was a watershed point in Hells Angels history, demonstrating that even high-ranking members could not escape the rage of the police. George Weatherman, a former vice president of the famed Hells Angels Oakland chapter, took an unexpected turn in his life when he agreed to testify in court. He decided to expose the club's drug routes, resulting in arrests and spreading panic among the Hells Angels. This decision, however, came at a hefty cost. Weatherman was accepted into the Witness Protection Program, which placed him in a life of secrecy and isolation. Weatherman became embroiled in a web of violence, narcotics, and horrible crimes after his involvement in the club's violent activities. To avoid the consequences, he made a deal with the authorities, revealing the deadly truths hidden beneath the gang's operations. As a result, his world disintegrated and he vanished into the shadows, leaving a terrifying legacy behind. Alan Pissarro's role in a fatal stabbing at the Altamont Free concert became a notorious Hells Angels event. As the Rolling Stones took the stage, tensions rose, and fighting broke out in the audience. During the ruckus, Pissarro, a Hells Angels member, got into a fight with Meredith Curly Hunter Jr., a concert-goer. Pissarro armed himself with a knife and viciously stabbed Hunter 5 times, resulting in his untimely death in front of his defenseless lover. Although the incident was recorded on video, Pissarro claimed self-defense during his trial. Despite the video evidence, Pissarro's defense team claimed that he acted to protect himself and the Hells Angels from a perceived threat. The jury, impressed by the notion of self-defense, acquitted Pissarro of murder charges, leaving open the possibility of a second attacker. When Paul Eichheit became engaged in the murder of Iwan Garcia, his criminal career took a nasty turn. Eichheit was a member of the famed Hells Angels motorcycle gang, which eventually led to a fateful night inside the Hells Angels clubhouse in Mesa, Arizona. Iwan Garcia became involved in a web of darkness with the Hells Angels, fueled by alcohol and rebellion. She had no idea that her actions would seal her fate. Eichheit, along with other Hells Angels members, made the frightening choice to permanently silence Garcia. They carried her lifeless body into the trunk of a car and drove her into the harsh Arizona desert, where they buried her bones. For 15 years, Paul Eichheit eluded capture by carefully establishing a new life in Buenos Aires, Argentina. But as darkness has a way of clawing back, Argentinian authorities pursued him relentlessly. His fawning facade was eventually peeled away, leaving him with no place to hide. James Ezekiel Brandeis was a powerful figure within the Hells Angels, working as a vicious enforcer and vice president of the Oakland chapter. Throughout his criminal career, he was tied to a variety of offenses, including drug trafficking, racketeering, and drug and contraband possession. The attempted murder of San Jose Police Department Sergeant John Crackett was one of the most dramatic instances involving Brandeis. A bomb exploded near Crackett's car in an attempt to kill him, but the officer miraculously survived. Brandeis was charged not just with attempted murder, but also with the deaths of Hells Angels members Ray Dale Stark and Anvil Lloyd Prater and Mary Ellen. Despite being implicated in 4 terrible acts, Brandeis escaped conviction. The circumstances underlying his ability to avoid punishment and avoid accountability prompted concerns about the difficulties law enforcement faced in pursuing Hells Angels and other outlaw motorcycle gang members. However, James Ezekiel Brandeis' criminal career ended tragically in 1994, when he committed suicide while in prison. David MacDonald Carroll, a well-known Canadian outlaw biker and mobster, developed a reputation for being a dangerous and aggressive guy. He was a member of the Hells Angels elite nomad chapter in Quebec, and his criminal activities included drug trafficking and a stunning connection to 15 killings. Carroll rose to fame as a pimp in Halifax, taking a cut from local escorts and engaging in numerous illicit activities. His role in drug trafficking and violent behaviors eventually caught up with him, and he was sentenced to a year in prison. This, however, was only the beginning of his sad journey. Carroll was charged again, this time with the death of a young man in Dartmouth. Despite the seriousness of the claims and his links to many deaths, Carroll escaped conviction on these charges, putting 2 other Hells Angels chapter members in limbo. His criminal reputation grew, and he was eventually linked to the famed Quebec motorcycle battle via Operation Shark. During this turbulent period in Quebec's criminal history, Carroll faced charges connected to a widespread conspiracy to commit murder. That's all for today. If you like this look into the world of Hells Angels, then like and subscribe to our channel for more stories and exclusive videos. And don't forget to leave your views and comments in the section below.